moment of my life. And so I have no problem with it. I'd like to live a long time. There are so many things I want to do yet. But if today is a good day to die, which means it's a good day to live too. And the older I get, the more I realize I don't know anything, and I don't think anybody does. We're all guessing, trying to figure it out. But the older I get, the more I embrace this beautiful mystery called life. Sarah? Excuse me for interrupting.
Oh no, it's okay. Actually, as part of the not knowing, I find myself hanging on everything that Ron says to me. Like I don't know if it's going to be the last thing I hear him say. So, talk all you want.
Could you share a song with us?
Okay. Well, this song describes a lot of what has happened on this trip, actually. And it describes the way that I feel toward Ron. It describes the way that I feel towards the Holy Spirit, the way that I feel towards nature, all of nature's spirits.
Sunday.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, so that's how I'm feeling. that's what this tour has been all about. I mean, we've traveled from the mountains and the deserts and to the ocean, and my goodness, I mean, we've gone everywhere and seen so much of it, and so I'm thankful.
So tell me about the deja vu that were abandoned, you know, because of the farming thing that was happening in the 70s, and I really felt like, whoa, you know, I think I walked around here before somehow or other.
Yeah, when I have deja vu, it's not the place that I recognize so much as the movements and the fluid feelings and the spirit of it,
Right.
and thinking that I've done this with this person before. I mean, but when I'm with Ron, it seems like I've done everything and experienced everything with him before, but yet everything's so brand new and wonderful at the same time. So.
Yeah, TSA, it said, we shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started from and know the place for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Yeah.
Sweet.
Nice.
My favorite words. Hey, I got a not knowing poem I want to
Oh, good.
It's the first part of a long series of poems called Cat's Atrophy, and it's the prologue. I, back in the track, where groove grew into rut, wrapped round tired shoulders, leaving breath space, for the wrapping of the word, in the beginning was the word, and the word, and the word, and the word, I, pressing signature into flesh, into redwood, into watercolor, being pressed into grid, projected onto plane, seeking the place, the moment, where two lines intersect, two beams of light flare, become more than two, become infinite, become more than two, become one. I, scanning the sky for messages, oracles, manifestations, witness vultures overseeing the road, the pavement, the asphalt track, twisting its way to the tower, the castle, the pinnacle of Western civilization, wherein treasured shelves of tuna fish, cocoa puffs, and frozen corn dogs await royalty. I, born in his image and likeness, like wonder, does he feel like this? A pinball, picking up points for smashing into bumpers, buzzing, ringing, lights flashing, saved by flippers, back for more points, maybe a replay. Does he feel like this? I, pointing my finger at roaring logging trucks, turning struggling forest into wasteland, into war zone, into shadowless ovens, baking eroding clay into land without creatures, without spirits, without respect. I, believing birds shine brighter than those in the eye, have sought their advice on many occasions, advancing naked and masked, asking for a legend, a dream of creation, a thread of sequence in this great unraveling. I, a feather shed to tumble turn in wind, gently drift downward in calm, saved by breeze, forestalling the final falling to solvent soil.
All right.
Nice, nice.
Thank you, Dan.
Had to join in the fun, man.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's what it's about. Jump to the fray.
Couldn't help yourself.
Okay, so deja vus. Any more deja vus? How's your deja vu?
The right place that you were meant to be, but all the rest of it is the not knowing part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was surprised. When I went to Europe, I thought maybe I'd have deja vu feelings over there, and I didn't. I mean, I had other feelings. It was great, but it was interesting. I mean, somehow or other, that's my Anyway, we're here for you, John. So Andy, like that poem you just read,
Yeah.
you're working on that right now, huh?
Well, I mean, I finished it last night.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, so on this trip.
Mm-hmm.
And so, are all you guys finding it real creative, personally creative, that you're inspired to do a lot of new stuff on this trip?
Oh,
Absolutely. Definitely. Doing something unique, at least in our case. We've taken several trips together. Is recording video and also recording conversations, spontaneous conversations going on, and the photographs. And David Menton, who is also a great painter. I'm not an expert on art, but I love art that goes straight inside me, like I encountered Van Gogh or Chagall. And David Menton does the same thing for me. He's
And speaking of which,
and he is
Go ahead.
also, it was great to discover that he is an excellent writer. Church Without a Monk is just, I mean,
Monk Without a
I
Church.
sat like, Monk Without
Monk
Church.
Without a Church.
Thank you for correcting me.
dyslexia.
I just-
Dyslexia.
Yeah.
I sat reading that thing out loud with joy, like
it's
an
one of David's
laughing
books.
Buddha. And so we're privileged to have him on board as a scribe in this trip here, and
Historian.
yeah,
And
historian.
Yeah, well, let's just go ahead and
Of course,
introduce David Menton. David Menton is on board in our spaceship. The five of us are traveling in this 1990 Ford LTD Crown Victoria, and Andy put a patriotic bumper sticker on the rear bumper to so we could remain
To
more
discourage
invisible
cops.
as we crossed
Yeah.
America. But
Especially to Republicans.
yeah, but David and I have been friends since 1968, since we first met on one night in 68 at a big party. And Edvard Munch, the progenitor of Expressionist art, painter of the screen, the painting that best represents the human condition of the last century, a century in which we have murdered approximately, according to former Defense Secretary McNamara, 160 million people in one war after another. Edvard Munch painted the screen. And Edvard Munch and David Menton are my two favorite artists of all time. I have many other favorites, but they're my two favorites at the top of the list. And David is an excellent writer. He just retired as art critic for the Lexington Herald-Leader, Kentucky's second largest newspaper. He was art critic for them for 20-some years, and he finally got burnt out on the death threats that he received from artists who didn't like being rated by David. But David knows as much about art as anybody I've ever met in my life, and I've been a student and a teacher of art. And David agreed to come on the trip as our official documentarian. He's taking photographs, but he's writing the story, all of which is going on our Not Knowing Tour book. The electronic book is on my website, tappingmyownphone.com, which is receiving about 60,000 hits a month now. It's run by folks out of Philadelphia, New York, and San Francisco, in particular James Walk, who works out of Philadelphia and New York City, who is a genius of web construction, internet site construction, and web art. And David is sending missives almost daily, and they're being posted as they arrive in Philadelphia. And so we're starting to receive emails from people around the world who are keeping up with us, reading David's reports, which are outrageous. They're outrageous.
But
Guess
they're
what? They're all
true.
true.
My
They're all
goodness.
true. And so,
What's messed up about
and
'em?
then this fall we're going to publish an expanded version of that electronic book as a paperback.
Yeah.
And so this session,
With photos.
Dan, if we can find, we want to borrow your camera, because somehow last night these
No,
yahoos
we haven't
lost
lost
their.
it. No, the camera's not
The
lost.
camera
it's
is just
misplaced.
misplaced.
What?
So we want to use some of your photographs from this session for our book. So I'm happy. David and I went to hitchhike to Florida.
So that's
and-
what's in
and
my underpants.
32
Shit.
years ago, and I've been looking forward to taking a trip with David ever since. So he's on board, and we've loved every second of it, every moment of it.
Okay.
Where were we?
Yeah, 10,
Ask the question.
10-minute answers.
Um,
Fucking great.
well, you know, I've been up on the website and I've read Andy's thing about the prison. Didn't you write about the prison concert a little
Dean
bit?
McLean.
Dean
Dean
McLean.
McLean, who's joining us. He's
You wrote something up there. I know.
I haven't written anything yet about the prison.
not about the
Oh, not
prison.
about the
He's
prison, but
written-
some
We,
other thing.
but he's
Other
written
things,
several
yeah.
pieces that are on there. But early on the tour, we did 2 shows one night in Kentucky. One at the federal penitentiary at LaGrange, and then we flew back to Louisville, where we performed at the Rudyard Kipling, one of a small handful of Louisville's premier music venues. But the prison gig was amazing. It was something else. Hundreds of prisoners packed the gym, and we didn't know what to expect. We really didn't. Although I taught a class there, I'd given a reading at the federal pen before. Years ago, I played doubleheader softball game at a federal penitentiary on a traveling softball team I was on. We didn't know what to expect, and we were ready to pull the plug. If they didn't like what we were doing, fine. We'll pull the plug and leave. We didn't want to annoy anybody, but they absolutely loved it. And after the show, they came up and shook hands, gave hugs, and as we were walking through the prison yard, the 1,800 prisoners at this prison. Half of them are murderers, and but they were high-fiving us and thanking us and hugging us. It was an awesome experience.
I loved it. I absolutely was on cloud 9 performing at that prison, and then when we left too. I mean, I have never heard such electric applause and such electricity from an audience.
They were truly appreciative.
Really, I mean,
Yeah, well, they don't get to see that kind of stuff.
right, and they were.
No.
It was just wonderful to look out across and see them nodding their heads and tapping their toes and just.
That kind of stuff, but nobody does what we does.
I know that's what
What we
Does?
does. That's right.
Whoa.
What
He
we
does.
What We's does.
He's got no shoes on.
No, but I mean, how did you guys get invited? I mean,
It took
The
me.
MC.
I wanted us to perform there. As Michael can tell you, Andy can too, and now Sarah. I intentionally set up venues that are in unusual places to audiences who've never heard or seen anything like us, and it's a test for me to just take poetry and song out to these places and to witness to these people. We're spreading the gospel of poetry and song and our messages that we share, that we write about and sing about. And so I'm always looking for unusual places we haven't been to perform. And so it took me 3 months to get this to go through all the bureaucratic channels. They did checks on us, and I didn't expect that we would get invited, because I'm sure that my FBI file is really thick. And but somehow they let us in, and we performed, just like they did Johnny Cash, and it was awesome.
yeah. Well, you know, you were saying that you don't know if they'd seen anything like you guys before. Well, I don't know that anybody's seen anything kind of like what the Vikings or Billy Apocalypse reviewers. I mean,
Thank you.
is there other things happening like you guys?
I don't
No,
think so.
there's not one.
Well,
I've studied it.
we hope we're igniting him.
I've studied
Yeah.
it. I've studied music and poetry all my life, and nobody is doing what we're doing.
No.
And that's all intentional. And we're new ground, and we'll see what happens with it. We're starting to really make a niche to open some doors in some places in the United States and in Europe. And we have a new EP and a new CD that'll be coming out later this year, and we're really going to market those in Europe, where people now hate the United States. And the EP will have 3 tracks on it: Shotgun Full of Jesus, Desert. Shotgun Full of Jesus is by Dean McClain, with the entire Viking Hillbilly tribe participating. All 3 of these tracks include the Viking Hillbilly tribe participating. Then Michael's Desert, which stands up there with one of the best rock songs of all time. And then my I Will Not Bow Down. Those 3 tracks will be on the EP. We're shipping that all over Europe, a few places in the U.S. And then later this year, Sin Eater, the Viking Hillbilly second CD. Now, we've all got a multitude of works out, CDs and books. I got work on over 20 CDs. Michael does too. And but as a group, this will be our second CD. And we're titling it Sin Eater, which is based on an ancient Appalachian tradition of the shaman in the mountain tribe. When a person dies, people put food on the dead person, and that shaman, that sin eater, takes food off of it and eats it, and takes the sins of the person into him or herself, so that person can then go on, move freely into the spirit world to the next place. So where were we? I'm on a tangent here, but the tangent's all, man, everything's connected. We always come back. I don't remember where this started.
Started with Lord of the Rings.
Interesting, though. I mean, I saw that word on the website a couple places, and I thought, I don't recall seeing the word sin eater.
Yeah, Michael actually, Michael triggered it, and he brought it up. He mentioned it. He did some study and research on it, and reminded me where we had heard it before. And Michael can talk about it a little bit, about the origins of us using the term. And then we both did some more research on it and decided this is the right thing. I mean, Michael and I have, we're the leaders of this tribe, so we collaborate on everything that goes down, and so we really worked on, what's the title of our next CD. And after we did the first one, we thought, well, maybe there'll never be another one. But we moved fast. We always have moved fast, and just as the first one was being released, we finished recording the second one. So, and we're already working on the third one, which is going to be called Ghost Dance. So, Michael, tell us about the Sin Eater. Your view originally.
Well, personally talking, where I first encountered the Sin Eater is, I've loved Hank Williams all my life.
That's right.
The first time I heard Hank Williams, sitting on my daddy's lap when I was a little child behind his guitar, and I felt like it was like the eyes of God, if there's any such thing, And lately they've released some of his acoustic recordings and some of his demos, and stopped raping his material and overdubbing it with stuff that he had no decision in.
And we went to Montgomery, Alabama, and visited his grave and the Hank Williams Museum too.
Yes, we did. Let's pay respect to Hank. And I was down in the museum. I have a little collection of there. They had all his vinyl records, every single copy, and then they had the Cadillac, the car he died in. And I love old cars. And as soon as I saw the thing, this is a baby blue convertible Cadillac. Walked over and put my hand on the hood. And then I kind of slid around to the side, feeling those fine lines. And I get back to the tail, and the sign hits me in his face and says, "Do not touch this car, or an alarm will go off. You will be arrested."
Somebody said something to you as well, didn't they? Somebody told you?
No, nothing
They
happened.
didn't?
No,
Okay,
no.
all right.
It was just at one point, at the end of it, I was going to walk out, and then there was a couple in there, tourists and everything, and I walked up to this cat and I said, "Excuse me, sir, could you please take a picture of me up next to this car here?" "It's not allowed to take pictures in here."
Boy. Yeah.
So
Well,
I said,
and I
thank you
want-
very
I want
much.
to say
Goodbye.
And I want to say that Michael is not only Michael is not only a founding member of Iceland's voted in 2000 their best rock group of the 20th century, Utengarsmen, the Outsiders. But Michael's responsible for introducing Americana music to Iceland. He's taken the work of Hank Williams and Johnny Cash and Bill Monroe and Robert Johnson and Muddy Waters to the people of Iceland. So we made a pilgrimage to Montgomery, Alabama, where we performed down there to visit the home of Hank Williams and the birthplace of the civil rights movement. Sarah, excuse me.
Well, what I was just going to say was I was going to help y'all swing around from the tangent and get back to the question about how you came up with the Sin Eater thing.
Oh, yeah.
And you first saw the word on a Hank Williams album.
That's right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely
Thank
right,
you.
Sarah.
All right.
Thank you.
I was
so y'all in.
Thank you. Back to the point. Woo! Yeah, so
Lord of the Rings.
getting all these remasters of Hank Williams' earlier work, and I read this great little story here about this cat who did the liner notes. Excuse me, I don't remember his name, but he was talking about that he went with his father to see Hank Williams. He was a child, about 6 or 7, and sitting in the audience. This is towards the last days of Hank Williams before he left this planet, and he looks at Hank Williams as he comes out and staged the play, and he looks at it there and he says, "That man, he looks kind of sick, Daddy. He looks kind of bad." And his daddy says, he's a sin eater. He's a sin eater.
Yeah, he's somebody who absorbs the sins of other people
Exactly.
and transforms them. He's an alchemist, a master alchemist, transforming lead into gold. And I believe in spiritual alchemy. And Hank Williams was one of those
You're
people.
good at closing your eyes when I photograph. You're great at it. You're getting almost 100%. It goes like that.
Now, you know, it's interesting to me on one level in that, you know, I was raised Catholic, and so...
God bless you, my son.
Yeah. And Nomine Domine, altar boy and the whole thing. But the idea of the black robe with a little bit of white here, you know, is that the black is supposed to draw in everybody's sins, you know, and so they're like sin eaters, kind of. But then when they talk, they're protected because they got a little bit of white over their vocal cords so that they can't have the devil that they're absorbing from everybody else come out and talk to them.
Yeah. Henrik Ibsen called them whited sepulchres, empty graves.
Wow.
The priest. That's just a sarcastic Ibsen comment. Excuse me, go ahead.
No, that's fine. I mean, I have a lot of problems with Catholic Church. I started having problems with Catholic Church when I was 13, and in some ways I'm still working it out. You know, it was great to go to Europe and see people taking it seriously. I thought people had given up on it. All of a sudden I realized a few times when I was growing up that people would say, you know, I'd be talking, I'd say I'm Catholic, and they'd go, "Oh, you're Catholic." And I'd go, "What do you mean? It's not like, you know, I'm Arab or, you know, a Jew or whatever, you know, it's like something Asian or, you know, really different." It's just like, I always thought of it as a club that people belong to.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden I realized, wow, man, when people split from Europe to come to North America, it wasn't the Catholics that were coming, it was everybody that was sick of what the Catholics were doing.
Yeah, the persecution, the Inquisition.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, back to your story, the trials and tribulations of... So what's the apocalypse in the Viking Hillbilly Apocalypse reveal? What's
well,
apocalypse?
We're in the age, the time of the apocalypse. This is the end times. Whether it's your version or somebody else's version, look at the world. We just visited Los Alamos in northern New Mexico, and there were dead trees and dead grass everywhere you looked. So we've arrived. No animals, no birds. We've arrived at the end time, and we're headed. Great prophets of all time, from Nostradamus to Edgar Cayce to Black Elk, have predicted that somewhere from 2000 to 2012 is the end of time as we know it. And it